Okay, the first thing we're supposed to do, we're supposed to do the review it. I need you to go through, if you have not done so already, and you need to fill in these blanks with the words from the word bank. They may be used more than once or not at all, but these are the only words or numbers that would be used in these blanks. So if you're doing this at home, just pause the video and then fill in your blanks. Now, to check what we've done, it should have said a line with a positive slope slants upward and to the right. So if you were to sketch that, oh, where's my pen? So it goes upward and to the right like this. The next blank says, as the coefficient of x increases for a positive slope, the line gets steeper. Okay, so the larger your slope is, the steeper the line gets. And it gets closer and closer to the y-axis. So when something gets steeper, this line right here, well, darn it, come on. My pen doesn't want to stay up here. All right. When it gets steeper, the closer it gets up here to the y-axis. As the coefficient of x decreases for a positive slope, the line gets more flat. Remember that the slope of a horizontal line, oh darn it, the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So the closer your number is to 0, the flatter your line. And it gets closer to the x-axis. Well, that's because a horizontal line, that's what the x-axis is. It's a horizontal flat line which has a slope of 0. A line with a negative slope slants downward to the right. So if I had a sketch of that graph, if it's a negative slope, it slants downward. The linear parent function, y equals x, has a slope of 1 and crosses the y-axis at the origin. Because another way to write the linear parent function is this. It's a 1x. That's where the 1 comes from, because remember the number with the x is the slope. The y-intercept is what's at the end. That's where it crosses the y-axis. And 0, 0 is the origin. Also remember that on the linear parent function, all the x and y numbers are the same when you make a table. Like -2, -2, -1, -1, 0, 0. They're all the same. If a line has a slope of 0, it is a horizontal line. If a line has an undefined slope, underline undefined so that you make sure you know undefined is a vertical line. The y-intercept is the place where it crosses the y-axis. Some of you need to remember which one is the x and which one is the y. Let's look at the other part. Okay, let's go back to the other part. Let's go to part 2. There we go, and it says trend it. Now, we've actually done this before. We've done scatter plots before, so this shouldn't be anything new. What we need to do is we need to graph, it says to enter the data on the graph below and sketch your trend line. Okay, so let's go down here. This might be a pain for me. Let's see. Let me move mine up. So you guys should start graphing yours. Darn. All right. There we go. This might be better. Okay, so what we need to do is graph our points. So I've got 1 and 17. I'll go over here to 1 and go up to 17 and put a dot. 1 and 19. 2 and 23. 2 and 28. Sometimes I like to check these off to make sure I've done them. 2 and 30. 3 and 37. Yours says what? 2 and 28. 2 and 20. What was I looking at? Oh, it should say. Let me go back. All right, so I had 1 and 17, 1 and 19, 2 and 23, 2 and 28. Oh, it's 2 and 20. Yeah, I just can't read. 2 and 20. All right. Now 3 and 37. 3 and 32. 3 and 35. 4 and 38. 4 and 42. 4 and 45. 5 and 48. 5 and 53. 6 and 57. 6 and 61. All right, so now it asks you to draw a trend line. Well, let's do this. First off, what kind of association is this? It is a positive correlation, a positive association, because from left to right, it's going up. That means my slope is going to be positive for my line. Now, you're supposed to draw your trend line. That's why you guys have the rulers. So you're going to take the rulers and lay them down so that they can go through the middle of all the points. You want to just get an average. And you want to make it go all the way down and through to the y-axis. My trend line may not be exactly like yours. Everybody's will be a little bit different. On mine, it says, where does your sketch trend line seem to cross the y-axis? For me, it's 0, 10. It should be somewhere near that for you. So now it says to enter the data into L1 and L2 for of your graphing calculator to create a scatter plot. So now with our calculators, let me get out my handy dandy calculator. Make sure to clear your memory before you start. So I'm gonna clear it. I've got second plus sign 712. All right, go to stat, right here below the delete. Stat and enter. Now we're going to put our the top row of points, those X's, into L1. So I have to move mine around a little bit. So I've got 1, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter, 2, enter, 2, enter. Move my calculator over here now. 3, enter, 3, enter, 3, enter. 4, enter, 4, enter, 4, enter. See, then we got 2 5s and 2 6s. Okay, I put all that first row into L1. Now I'm going to arrow over and I'm going to put the second row into L2. So I'm going to start with these first few. I've got 17, 19, 23, 28, 20, 37. Let me move my calculator over. 32, 35, 38, 42, 45, 48, 53, 57, and 61. Make sure in your calculator that the same amount of numbers are in L1 and in L2. Now, it says, is the trend line you sketched actually the parent function y equals x? Did we put in here y equals x? We didn't put in y equals x. How do you know that? The linear parent function, the constant, is supposed to be what? Not 1. Y equals x plus 0. The linear parent function always starts at 0, 0. It has a slope of 1. So this one, if it was a linear parent function, it would be starting down here. But what you have to do to try and figure out what your equation is in the calculator, we now need to go, what you're going to do is you're going to start in the calculator and go to y equals and put the linear parent function in there. Now, you know, when I press graph, all I see is this. We forgot to do a couple of things in order to be able to see our points. Remember, the first thing we need to do is turn our stat plot on. See above y equals where it says stat plot? You need to press second, y equals, press enter twice to make the on button highlighted. Now, even when we press graph, I still don't see my points. That's because I have to change my window settings. So if I go to window, my smallest x number is 0. So I'm going to go with a number a little bit smaller than 0. I'm sorry, smaller than 1, and make that 0. Okay, so my x minimum is 0. X maximum goes up to 6. X maximum 10, that works out. That's okay. Y minimum, the smallest y number I have over here is 17. A number smaller than 17, I can go with 15, but because it's the first quadrant, I think I'll just start with 0. And it goes up to 61. So I'm going to put in there, I'm going to go down here and put in 65. Now if I press graph, I should be able to see my line and my dots. Okay. Here are the points that I plotted. Let me move this up. Here is my linear parent function. Does that equation need to be, for my trend line, does it need to be steeper or flatter? Steeper. What affects the steepness? The slope or the y-intercept? The slope. So let's go and put in there 5x. And some people say, well, how are you coming up with that number? I'm just making it up. I'm literally just guessing. Did it work? No. Well, is the line going through the points? Look on my screen. Nope, it's got to go up farther. Now, one thing I notice is, I know that it's talking about adjusting, making it steeper or less steep. But here's my problem. Look at the graph we did by hand. What's my y-intercept? 10. So let's go in here and add a plus 10 in there. Sometimes you just need to shift your line up. All right, it's closer now. But I still need my line to be steeper, so it needs to be a larger number. So let's see, I'll pick 7. That's not bad, but it still could be a little bit better. You want it to go through the middle of all your points, just like we did over here by hand. So if I go in again, what happens if I put in 8? That one looks pretty good. All you do is you try numbers until you can get it to fit your points to go through the middle so you can find the equation of your trend line. So let's see what were the questions they had over here for us. One of the questions says, look at the graph of your scatter plot and function. You may need to adjust your window to see all the points. Is your data more steep or less steep than the linear parent function? It was more steep. We had to increase the slope. Adjust the slope and or y-intercepts in your equation until you have a line that fits your data the best. What was the equation? Well, we should have had 8x plus 10. Oh. Y equals 8x plus 10. Okay, let's look at the next one. Here's the next one. Let's go through and let's go ahead and start graphing your points. I'm going to adjust my little doohickey here so that I can try and graph it. Okay, so you should be graphing these points. So you're supposed to go and graph, and I've got 0 and 15. 0 and 16. 1 and 12. Okay, let me check these off as I go through. 2 and 9. 2 and 9.5. Let's see. Okay. 2 and 9.5. 3 and 7. 4 and 5. 4 and 6. 5.5 and 4. 5 and 4.5. 5 and 4.5. 6 and 5. 6 and 3. 7 and 2. 8 and 1. And 10, and it says -1. Let's see, 10 and -1. All right, does this have a positive or negative relationship? Negative. From left to right, it is going down. Okay, so now, let's go ahead with our rulers and let's draw a trend line. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to draw a line that goes through the middle of most all my points. Doesn't mean it's exact, but it gives me an idea if I wanted to go through and try and figure out my equation. But what we are going to do now is you're going to go into your golly gee willikers, into your calculator. So let's clear the memory again. Second, plus sign, 7, 1, 2. Go to Stat and enter. let's put our numbers into L1 and L2. So the first ones I've got, let's see. 0, enter, 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5.5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, and 10. To clear your memory, it's second plus sign 712. Then to go in and put my Y numbers, arrow over to L2, 15, 16, 12, 9, 9.5, 7, 5, 6, 4, 4.5, 5, 3, 2, 1, and negative 1. Now, after you put your points into L1 and L2, remember they have to have the same amount in the two columns. You have to turn on your stat plot right there above Y equals. Second Y equals, enter, enter. Turn that stat plot on. Now when we go to graph, here are some points, but we need to fix our window settings. So if I go to window, the smallest one I have is 0. I think I'm going to go ahead and start at 0. And then X maximum goes up to 10, so I'm going to leave it alone at 10. Y minimum, the smallest Y number, where is that? Is negative 1. So I guess I could just leave it at negative 10, but I think I'm going to go to negative 2. My highest is 16, so I'll just go to 20. Now press graph. Okay, so there's my data. It says graph the linear parent function. So if you go to Y equals, linear parent function is Y equals X. And press graph. First off, I see right away they're crossing. What do I need to do to change so that it's going in the same direction as my points? Make it negative. So let's go up here to Y equals and let's put in there negative X and press graph. Now it's going down. See that little line right here? It's going down. I need to shift this up. I need a constant. I need to change the y-intercept. I need to raise it up. Anybody got a suggestion? Plus 9? We can try plus 9. I think it needs to go up even higher. See how, like, right here, there's a 15 or a 16? 11? Okay, we'll try 11. What the heck? It's not bad, but my line is not going through the middle. It's got to kind of resemble these points. So I'm going to go, let's try 14. I still keep trying to go up a little bit. All right, now that's fine here, but what do I need to do? Do I need to make my line flatter or steeper? Flatter means it makes it more horizontal. I need to make it steeper. Okay, so to make it steeper, remember the negative only has to do with the direction. Now you can retype all this, or if you go over here, highlight on the X, second, delete, which is really insert. I'll just pick a number and I'll put a 5 in there. You can either retype it all, or it's second and the delete button, which is insert. Now if I press graph, I put a 5x. Whoa, holy moly. That's way too steep. A 2? That's not bad. Now, I would be okay with that. I wonder if though, let me see if I can do something. What if I, well, let's go back. Let's try and make it at 12. Let me look at it. I need to make it a little bit flatter. Oh, darn. Delete the wrong thing. 1 point. Let's try negative 1.5. Oh, winner, chicken dinner. That one looks pretty good. As long as you're close, I mean, you want to, if this was a real life data, you want to get as close as possible. I mean, this could be the difference of making a bridge break. You know, if you're not getting it exactly or as close as you can. So it says, the questions on here say, graph the linear parent function, does it fit the data? No. What can you do to the slope of this line to make it fit better? Okay, we increase the slope. We made it steeper. Oops, steeper. What's the best estimate for the y-intercept? I think we put, on this one, we put it in between 11 and 12. What do I do? Put on my calculator. I can't remember. Oh, darn. On the calculator, I used 12. You said why 11 and 12? It's because when I sketched it, it's right here where it crosses the y-axis. The question, okay, you know, that's a good question. Right here it says 0, 16, 0, 15. You won't use those specifically. It just depends on where your trend line is, because 0, 15 and 0, 16 were way up here. All the other points kind of stayed down a little bit lower. If I had drawn my trend line to go through 15 and 16, it would have been something like this, and that doesn't hit my other points. Okay, so just because it says 0, 15, 0, 16 doesn't mean we'll always use that. It just gives us an idea of where, you know, you have to just graph all the points and you have to draw a line that goes through the middle of as many as you can. All right, so what was the equation we found? Y equals, does anybody remember what I wrote? Oh, I did negative 1.5x plus 12. Guys, it doesn't have to just be whole numbers. It could be 1.5, 2.3, you know, anything like that for your equation. Okay, the next part. Here's a bunch of data, and they already plotted it for us. And they even drew the parent the linear parent function for us. They drew this trend line. It says the data representing the number of times people ate fast food during the week and the number of pounds they gained is displayed on the table and graph. The linear parent function is also graphed. What changes would need to be made to the slope and or the y-intercept to make to get an accurate trend line? Okay, the y-intercept, it seems to be through the middle of all these. If I went to go draw a trend line, this is what I would do. Something like this. What am I doing to the linear parent function to get to this line? I'm making it flatter. So what am I doing? So let's see, I'm making the line flatter. And to make the line flatter, do I increase or decrease my slope? I decrease it. I make it closer to 0. So if this is y equals x, which means this is a 1x, when I go down here to make it flatter, I'm going to have some kind of fraction, like maybe 1/2, maybe 2/3. I don't know, but I know that this is going to be a fraction. Okay, so now let's go back with our data. and it wants us to find an equation that fits it more accurately. So now let's go to the calculator, the handy dandy calculator. Let's do this again. Clear your memory. Second, plus sign, 712. Put your points into Y1 and Y2. Or not Y1, L1 and L2, sorry. Stat, enter. So let's see here. Let's go through and do this. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Move my calculator over a little bit. I've got 3 2s. Let's see. 2, 2, and 2. So if I go over here, I've got 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7. Okay, I put all the first row in. Now I'm going to arrow over and go to the number of pounds. All right, 0.5, 0.25, 0, 0, 0.5. Move mine over a little bit. 0.75, 0.5. Let's see, 0.75. Kind of hard not to lose track here. Sometimes that's why you'd want to check it off. 1, 1.5, 1, 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 2.5, or 7.5, sorry. 3, 3.5, 3, 3.75, and 4. Ooh, that's a lot of numbers. All right, make sure that they're even, L1 and L2. And they are, so now we need to turn on our stat plot. Second y equals, enter, enter. When you go to graph it, they're all bunched up right there. We need to change our windows. Here's one way to do it without having to go through and change all your windows all at once. You can do this. Go to zoom. See where, I think it's zoom in. Let's try that. No, it's not. It's zoom stat. Sorry. Go to zoom. Where did it go? Should be zoom stat. Number 9. Oh, zoom fit. No, zoom stat. There it is, zoom stat. Go to number 9, and it will do it for you. Try it again. If you go to zoom and go to number 9, where it says zoom stat, and you press enter, you don't have to change your window settings. It will do it for you. Now, we go to y equals, put in the linear parent function, y equals x. Okay, to go to y equals and put in the parent function, y equals x, and press graph. Now, we need to make this flatter, so that's why I said go into y equals. And let's try 1/2. 1/2 x, and press enter. Dang, that was a good guess. For the most part, it goes through the middle of all your points, so you're good to go as long as you have a good estimate. As long as your trend line goes through the middle of all the points, then you're okay. Now, the thing is why we do this. So my equation I came up with was y equals 1/2 x. Now it says to use your trend line. It says use your trend line or equation. We're going to use my equation to estimate the number of pounds a person would gain if they ate out 10 times. Now, looking here, X and Y, X is the number of days they eat out. Y is the pounds. So it says, find out how many pounds they could gain if they ate out 10 times during the week. So what you're going to do, we're going to go to our calculator. We already have our trend line equation, NY equals right there. So let's go to second graph. And you're going to go in the table, and you're going to look and see where X is 10. Where X is 10, Y is 5. So according to our prediction, if you go out to eat 10 times a week, you're going to gain 5 pounds. So you should be able to use that equation now to try and make predictions based on how many pounds you might gain, how many, if you go out to eat, you know, what's going to happen. Okay, so now you guys need to get the assignment for today.